بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته وتبع هداه إلى يوم الدين. تركنا المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزغ عنها إلا هالك ثم أما بعد. So alhamdulillah, we are reading from a particular text that is hopefully going to help us find a path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the path that Allah has blessed those who have found it before us. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, not the ones that you have been wrathful with, nor the ones who have gone astray. And this is the path of the Arifin, or al-Mun'am alayhim, or Ahlillah. There's many different ways we can say it, the people of Allah, the knowers of Allah, the ones who have been blessed before us. And so out of Allah's mercy, He has given us not only the life and the aptitude and the ability to find Him Azza wa Jal and to know Him, but He has also left for us exemplars. He has left for us those who come before us and those who are within our same time to show us how to follow and to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So some of you have, I see some have asked about the text. Unfortunately, I have not been able to find a PDF version of it online. Those of you who have access to Arabic bookstores, you might be able to find it. It's called Qutb al-Arifin fi al-Aqaidi wa Tasawwuf, and this is it right here. You can see that without the glare. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to find a PDF version. We have translated the topics, and hopefully those of you who got on the WhatsApp group or sent your email out the other day are able to see that. And additionally, hopefully, we might add some during or after the end of the finishing the book, some sort of demonstrative notes for each topic heading, like main points that have been made. So hopefully, Qutb bil Qaf, Qutb al Arifin is the title. Qaf Ta Ba. So Qutb here means pole, or the guiding pole. So pole as in like North Pole or guiding star of the Arifin. So we're in the topic dealing with Aqidah, or creed and theology. We're nearly finished with it, and this will lay the foundation, as we said earlier, for then building upon the, let's say, the intellectual acknowledgement or the tasdeeq, right? So this first section basically is saying Allah exists, and you have to know that Allah exists, and you have to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala huwa mudabbir as-samawati wal-ard wa huwa rabbul alameen, right? He is the one who's in complete sovereignty over the heavens and the earth, and He is the Lord of all of the different realms, both from the seen realm, alam al-mulk, and the unseen realms, alam al-ghayb or alam al-malakut, and this is alam al-shahada, the realm of that which can be perceived or witnessed by our five senses. So the main themes we've seen so far is this idea of tanzih, and it's a good word to know. Tanzih in Arabic means to declare and affirm that which is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, logically and conceptually. So we have seen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was and there was nothing else. And if Allah was and there was nothing else, then that means He cannot take on or resemble any of the creation or any of the attributes or properties of creation. So that includes being in a specific time, because before there was time, there was Allah. And after time is over, after the annihilation of the universe, and then the day of judgment will be upon us, time will be over, and there'll be a different type of time that will come after that. But in that realm before time that we have referred to, and the scholars refer to as al-azal, right? The pre-eternal time, or the sempiternity that comes outside of our understanding of time and space and physical distance and properties and all these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yunazzah an dhalik, right? Huwa munazzah. He is above and beyond and transcends in by way of meaning all of those properties, those attributes. And then anything that we find in the Quran or in the nusus, the scripture, or in the hadith, that seems to indicate something else, then as the author has mentioned, Imam al-Lajai, it is to be understood in terms of ta'wil, right? And ta'wil means to understand the meaning that is meant by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can intend in the book, in the Quran, literal meanings, so meanings that are to be understood exactly as they seem, in other words, even in their physical sense. And sometimes the intention could be not the literal physical meanings, but something more figurative or metaphorical or allegorical. And this is especially true when he's referring to his attributes and when referring to things of the unseen realm, right? Things of al-alam al-malakut, because there are different rules, right, that govern alam al-malakut, unlike alam al-mulk, unlike this world that we live in. And for a long time, for example, pre-quantum theory and quantum mechanics, we thought that there was a sort of set of rules that govern the relationship between speed and distance and time and light and all those sorts of things. And then they looked at the atomic level, the subatomic level, the quantum level, and found out that Newton's laws of motion didn't really work on that subatomic level. And now it's increasingly clear that also in the celestial realm that Newton's laws don't actually work that well either. And the attempt to reconcile between the observed phenomena and these laws that men or scientists have prescribed for how to understand the universe is still an ongoing effort. So, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Right, so this goes to show us that above all, anyone who thinks they have knowledge, there's always a alim, there's always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has more knowledge than anyone else. So with that, I'd like to then go to the text, and we're almost finished with this section, that is. So the next section, فَصْلٌ فِي الْمِثَالِ. So we did the ru'ya, and the mithal is the similarity, for those of you who have the handout, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be section 22, the similarity, or the mithal. So here he says, رضي الله عنه, قال الله سبحانه, ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. And this is the verse that is most often cited when we talk about the lack of similarity or resemblance between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and anything else. So, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Here, there's a kaf, which is harf tashbih, as they say in Arabic, and then mithl. So, mithl means similarity. So, it's almost saying there is not a likeness of the likeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So kind of like 2 degrees removed, even from being the likeness. So, some of the ulama said that this kaf is what we call za'idah, or it's there merely for emphasis and doesn't really have a meaning besides emphasis. And some of them said, no, it actually means نفي المثل أو مثل المثل. ليس كمثله شيء. So it also means, it could mean that it is even saying that if we could postulate, if we can even conceptualize, which we cannot, but if we could, that there was a mithl, something that resembles Allah, then Allah is not even like that mithl, right? Then He's not even like that resemblance either. Then he says, وَكَيْفَ يَتَعَلَّقُ الْمِثَالُ بِمَنْ هُوَ غَيْرُ مُصَوَّرْ وَلَا مُرَكَّبْ وَلَا مُؤَلَّفْ وَلَا مُجْتَمَعٍ وَلَا مُفْتَرَقٍ وَلَا يَتَّصِفُ سُبْحَانَهُ بِحُمْرَةٍ وَلَا بِصُفْرَةٍ وَلَا بِبَيَاضٍ وَلَا بِسَوَادٍ وَلَا بِلَوْنٍ مِنَ الْأَلْوَانِ. So how can the one who is not described as being formed or being composed of parts, right, murakkab, mu'allaf, or mujtama, or being brought together with different pieces, wala muftaraq, or to be separated in different sections, wala yatasfu subhanahu bihumratin wala bisufra. You can't describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as being yellow or red or white or black or any color from amongst the colors. لم يوجد من شيء كانت منه بدايته. Right? And there is nothing that he can come from or be from that its very own existence came from him. So it's like it's another form of the circular argument. So if we said that Allah is this size or is this color or is this thing, well, there were no sizes or colors or things before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually created them. So how can he be described or attributed to any of those things? And he came first and those things came second. So it's kind of a circular argument, which is a conceptual impossibility. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be like anything like his creation, and not in anything of the framework that we're used to in creation, which is time, space, and category. سميع بلا أذن بصير بلا مقلة. Right? He hears without an ear, he sees without an iris. صانع بلا معالجة يد. He can form and create things, and he doesn't need to have tools or limbs by which to do that. ذو وجه بلا صورة. So there's a wajh, there's a countenance of God, but without form. حي بلا نفس متردد. He is alive, but without breathing, without a respiratory system. متكلم بلا كلام متعدد. Right? And he speaks and communicates, but without words that we can count, that we can get to the end of. As the Surah Al-Kahf says, if the words were as long as the seven seas, and then or more after that, ما نفدت كلمات الله. Right? The words of Allah still would not run out. So ولا يزال متكلما. فاليدان راجعان إلى القدرة. Right? And here on madhab al-Khalaf, the madhab of the later scholars, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about وَمَا خَلَقْتُ بِيَدَيْ, that which he created with the two yads, or the two arms, or the two hands, this can refer to the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Shaykh al-Akbar Ibn Arabi says, yes, al-qudra, but also that since it mentions two, right, then there has to be some significance to mentioning two and not one. But they're not limbs, right? They're not physical limbs like we have, but these are merely allegorical to show us and to give us a frame of reference that we're familiar with. So he creates in terms of both Jalal and Jamal, right? Which is kind of a dhawqi understanding of it. So Jalal is magnificence and Jamal is beauty. And so everything is formed and has those elements within it, going back to the intent and qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is expressed in the verses that talk about وَمَا خَلَقْتُ بِيَدَيْ, right? بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ يُنْفِقُ كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ, right? بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ, the verse says. Some of those tribes of the Israelites said that يَدُ اللَّهِ مَغْلُولَةٌ حَشَاهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى, right? Allah doesn't give and he doesn't spend. بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ يُنْفِقُ كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ. Rather, both they spend and they give, and there is ata. كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ, right? Goes back to the intention. So there's qudra, there's the omnipotence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the intention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So spending here or giving can come in ways of manifestations of his attributes of Jamal, of beauty, and also his attributes of Jalal, of magnificence. وَكِلْتَا يَدَيْهِ يَمِينٌ, right? And that's also a verse of the Quran. Both of them are from the right. So they're not limbs, right? But there's a meaning within that. And this meaning is also perhaps can only be understood in the dhawqi sense. But in a purely nadari or rational aspect, we say ننفي الظاهر, right? We say that the literal meaning can't be true. That's impossible. مع إثبات الآية, but we say that the verse is true and there's a meaning behind it. We don't say it's meaningless, but على مذهب السلف نوكل هذا المعنى إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى. So on the school of thought of the early Salaf scholars, we say that the meaning is known by Allah, even though we may not know the meaning. وعلى مذهب الخلف, we say a possible ta'wil, a possible interpretation can mean qudra and intention, for example, qudra and power and irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. والسمع راجع إلى إدراك المسموعات والبصر راجع إلى إدراك المبصرات. And this is also legitimate way to look at the sama of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the verse says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. But He is also the all-hearing and the all-seeing. So His sama, His seeing goes back to, He hears His hearing goes back to everything that can make a sound, that can be heard, and His seeing, and all those things that can be seen, and those things that we cannot see, and also those things that we cannot hear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well acquainted with all of them. والوجه راجع إلى الوجود لا لسمة المحدثات, right? And the wajh, ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام, the wajh, or the countenance of God, goes back to, the meaning is to the existence, right? The very essential existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لا لسمة المحدثات, not to some attribute of al-muhdath, of something that has come into existence like a physical body part. لا يختص بعضه بالوجه دون بعض, right? So it's not like He's a composite part and the countenance or face is something and this part is another something, even though it says yadan and it says wajh, right? It doesn't mean that He's composed of these parts. That is an impossible meaning for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Conceptually impossible, based upon our understanding of the power and the azama and the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وكذلك اليدان والسمع والبصر, as we said. تعالى الله أن يتباعد أو يجوز عليه كل, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, تعالى Allah, يعني He is مرفع, He is higher than and in a greater sense of existence than having to be made up of parts, or that He can be considered a kul, right? That He is considered a whole, and then that whole is comprised of parts. Even the way we understand His attributes of Allah, as we mentioned earlier, they are neither inseparable nor distinct from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they are one and the same in terms of how we understand the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فهو, as we say, أمر يعني من وجه أمر اعتباري. From a particular perspective, it's how we understand. It's a mental construct, how we understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though the sifat are haqiqiyya. So the attributes are true. Allah mentions them in the Quran, but we don't make a distinction between them and the essence of God. Otherwise, we would say that He's made up of these parts or attributes that He's in need of to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's rather how Allah reveals Himself to us. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not reveal Himself via these attributes, how would we have a way to know Him? Because we are incapable of knowing the That, al-Muqaddasa. We are incapable of knowing the sacred essence of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the inviolable essence, because we don't have the capability, the comprehension by which to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of His essence. So He leaves us the tajalliyat as-sifat, the manifestations of the attributes and properties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the beautiful names of Allah. So when we see a bird and we see a tree and we see a human being, we see that these are what are called athar. Sometimes ayat, sometimes athar. Athar means like literally footprint, right? Or remnant. So when you see a footprint in the sand, just like the Arab Bedouins would say, they say, al-ba'rata tadur ala al-ba'ir, right? The camel dung lets me know that a camel was there. So literally we are just ba'ra, right? We're kind of dung in the sense that we are indicators that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tajalla بصفته الكرم والرزق والإحياء والإماتة وما إلى ذلك. All of these attributes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and names manifested in this way, and then we came into the dunya, we came into existence. فإنه لا يتباعد إلا من يتجزأ, right? So you can't think of something in parts except something that can be split up, and Allah cannot be split up. ولا يكن كل إلا بمن له حد, and something cannot be described as a whole except if it has parameters and hudud and limits. Again, doesn't apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولا يعقل منه إلا الوجود فقط لأن الصفات تعذرت عن العقول معرفتها. So the only thing that is rational in terms of what we can say in an absolute sense that we understand it is the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the important point. So in terms of what we can say absolutely in terms of our intellect, Allah exists. That we know for sure. إلا الوجود. لأن صفاته تعذرت عن العقول معرفتها. But to know even the attributes as they really are, we cannot. So as we said before, we have these negative attributes. We say the things that Allah is not. So He's not like His muhdathat. He's not like the things that He created. He is eternal. That means He had a beginninglessness and also an everlastingness. So al-qidam wal-baqa, al-wahdaniyah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. So He's not more than one, nor He can be divided into parts. ليس بالمتصل ولا بالمنفصل. Right? He is not connected to something else, nor is He separated from it, but He is completely self-sufficient. وهو غني عن العالمين القائم بنفسه. So He's completely self-sufficient, does not need anything. He doesn't need a place to hold Him, right? He's not an attribute, so that He needs a mahal, and He's not a jawhar or a jism, as they say. He's not an atom or a composite body that He needs mukhassis, that He needs something to put Him there into existence and to take up space. So all of those things are impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's why this whole section basically has been kind of geared towards knowing that Allah exists, reading the signs that Allah exists, and then knowing that everything in existence then goes back to the essential existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why some of them said, Huwa al-wujud, right? Someone said He is existence, or He is the being, right? And everything else is just kind of mawjud, right? And mawjud means existing. But the existence, right, in its most essential form, is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَهُوَ الْوُجُودِ. And then everything else goes back to mawjudat, that, in other words, a contingent existence, an existence that would not have existed other than for the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is basically and entirely everything else. وكيف يوصف من تنزه عن الآماد والنهايات وتعالى عن الحد والبدايات. تعالى الله أن يحيط علم بذاته أو تدرك العقول شيئا من صفاته، فتنزه عن زي الذكور والإناث، له الخلق والأمر، تبارك الله رب العالمين. So how can He be described properly? And He does not have limits, and He does not have endpoints, and He does not have a had, a thing that can clearly an expiry date, will be dayat, and even a beginning date. All of these things don't apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. تعالى الله أن يحيط علم بذاته. And even an extension of that is that there is no human knowledge or any knowledge of any created being that can know Allah, really know everything about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لا يعلم الله إلا الله. The only one who really truly knows Allah is Allah. أو تدرك العقول شيئا من صفاته. And to know the attributes and properties of God in the manner by which we understand them, we know their wujud, they exist, right? Just like we know wujud al-dhat. We know that the essence exists, and the sifat and the attributes are the way by which we understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَتَنَزَّهَ عَنْ زِيِّ الذُّكُورِ وَالْإِنَاثِ. That's why we don't describe Allah as male or female. He's neither male nor is He female, because those are attributes of created things. In the Quran, the pronoun that is used to refer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, is the masculine pronoun. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, right? It's huwa, but it doesn't mean that He's masculine. It's a convention. And this convention, where did it come from? Did it come from some sort of malevolent patriarchy throughout Islamic history that put that in there? No. This came directly from al-wahi. This came directly from the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, came from Allah directly, that He called Himself Huwa. He said, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ هُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ وَالظَّاهِرُ وَالْبَاطِنُ. He says about Himself, Huwa. So we say then the word Huwa, the pronoun, can be used as a masculine pronoun, and it also can be used to refer to the divine essence. And because we use it to refer to the divine essence, this does not indicate at all masculinity as superior to femininity, or as the masculine superior to the feminine, or the male superior to the female. Doesn't mean any of those things. But this is the pronoun that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to refer to Himself. And He also chose that pronoun to refer to those who are male, or to those things in Arabic language, because we know words can be either masculine or feminine, as in other languages like French, for example. Don't have that really in English. but the definitive article or the pronouns that refer to a thing, even if it's an inanimate thing, can either be masculine or feminine. So ash-shams, the sun, for example, is feminine, and al-qamar is masculine. Al-ard is feminine, right? And these, which is the earth, and these things are inanimate things. They're not things that are human, but nevertheless, the pronouns that are used then can indicate, are used also for the masculine and the feminine. And then anyone who thinks that somehow there's some sort of patriarchal conspiracy behind all of this, and that it should be changed to she when we translate it or things like that, I think that's a misguided thing, because it's not how the language works. The language allows for pronouns to be used for inanimate things, and specifically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though Allah is not masculine. We don't say Allah is masculine, or that he's a male, or he has masculine attributes. Hasha. He has the attributes of God that are specific to him that he shares with no one else, whether they're male or female. له الخلق والأمر تبارك الله رب العالمين. For him is the khalq, the creation, and the amr, and the command. تبارك, right? Allah is raised and mutarafa. Allah Rabbul Alameen, the Lord of the universe. So the next section then is Fasl fi Tilawa, or the recitation. Again, these are going to be verses that seem like Allah has some sort of human quality, but he does not. قال الله سبحانه ذلك نتلوه عليك من الآيات والذكر الحكيم. Surah Al Imran, ayah 58. يحتمل أن يكون جبريل هو التالي ويضيف الله سبحانه ذلك إلى نفسه كما قال تعالى ثم شققنا الأرض شقا وهم الحراثون شقوا الأرض شقا فأضاف الله سبحانه ذلك إلى نفسه. ومن زعم أن الله عز وجل قارئ وتال فقد خرج عن مذهب المسلمين، لأن معنى التلاوة والقراءة عند أهل السنة صوت القارئ ونغمته فتعالى الله عن ذلك علوا كبيرا. So here this verse ذلك نتلوه, right? نتلوه means to recite, or to tilawa means specifically recitation of the Quran. نتلوه عليك من الآيات والذكر الحكيم, speaking to the Prophet ﷺ and talking about the previous and the communities. ذلك, this, نتلوه, we recite it to you, عليك, to you or upon you, من الآيات, from the ayat, from the signs, والذكر الحكيم, and the wise dhikr and the wise remembrance. So he says here يحتمل, again, see هذه صيغة تواضع. يحتمل, perhaps, possibly. يحتمل أن يكون جبريل هو التالي. Maybe it was Jibreel, because Jibreel هو ملك الوحي. Jibreel is the angel of revelation, and so he is the one who is doing the tilawa, which we would say is jaiz, right? Allah, Jibreel is not divine. Yes, he's from Alam al-Malakut, but he's not divine, so he can take on these attributes of created things because he is a created thing. So Jibreel هو التالي, right? He is the one who's doing the tilawa. ويضيف الله سبحانه ذلك إلى نفسه, and sometimes Allah will ascribe it to himself, even though it's ascribed to Jibreel. And this is also one of the rhetorical devices in the Arabic language. ثم شققنا الأرض شقا, right? Like in the verse ثم شققنا الأرض شقا, like when we split the earth, شقا, right? مفعول مطلق. Then we emphatically split the earth. So here the royal we in the Quran is also mentioned. وهم الحراثون شقوا الأرض فأضاف الله سبحانه ذلك نفسي, right? And the ones who split the earth so that they till the fields and things can grow is really الحراثون. It was farmers who did that. But إضافة الفعل إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى أنه هو الفعل الحقيقي, هو الفاعل الحقيقي. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the true author of all acts. So, but it doesn't mean that Allah here is a farmer literally, but the act itself can be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though there's a medium in between, namely the farmers. Then he says, وَمَنْ زَعَمَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ قَارِئٌ وَتَالٍ فَقَدْ خَرَجَ عَنْ مَذْهَبِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. So if you literally think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقرأ is reading or reciting, then you have gone outside the madhab, you have gone outside of the way of the Muslims. لأن معنى التلاوة والقراءة عند أهل السنة صوت القارئ ونغمته. The meaning of tilawa and qira'ah, according to the people of the Sunnah, is the sound and tone or melody of the qari', of the one who is reading. فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ عَنْ ذَلِكَ عُلُوًّا كَبِيرًا. Right, so it's impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have it any other way. Some of them said, no, he is talin, he is qari', but not like a human being. Or they say he has a yad, or he is on the arsh, but not like a human being, and he is haqiqatan, right? And literally he's sitting on the throne, and literally he has a hand, but not like the way a human being has a hand. And they thought they were doing tanzih when they said this. They thought they were doing tanzih and not ascribing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the things that cannot be ascribed to him. But actually they're doing what's called tajseem. هذا tajseem. Tajseem means that they are ascribing body parts. They're making Allah like a body. It's nonsensical to say Allah has a hand, but not like our hand. Because the only meaning we know in Arabic language of hand, when we say a literal hand, is a limb. How could it be a literal hand except that it's a limb, right? It's a body part. And if you make it a body part, but it's a body part not like our body parts, it's a nonsensical thing to say because you've made him into a body consisting of parts. This is the problem. So rather we say the ayah says yadan, and the ayah says ar-Rahman arsh istawa, and the ayah says ذَلِكَ نَتْلُوهُ عَلَيْكَ مِنَ الْآيَاتِ وَالذِّكْرِ الْحَكِيمِ. Nuthbit, right? We affirm. I'm not saying that the ayah doesn't say that, but the meaning is known. The only one who truly knows the meaning is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And human beings, ar-rasikhuna fil ilm, as we said in that verse in Ali Imran, Allah may give some insight into the meaning of these verses. Ar-rasikh fil ilm, right? The one who is well grounded in knowledge may also have some of that. That knowledge that Allah gives to them. But again, we don't say bil qata'. We don't say, oh, it's absolutely true. It has to be Jibreel is the one who is meant in the verse. No, the Shaykh said, yuhtamal. It's possible that he is the one. So, there's quite a bit of humility built into our understanding of the nusus, of the sacred scripture and the sacred sciences. One has to be humble. And the epistemology of Islam in particular, generally speaking, the way that we know things, there's a hierarchy in epistemology. There are certain things that are maqtu'a bihi, certain things that we're absolutely certain about, like the existence of God, right, for example, and the existence of his attributes and the way that we understand those attributes. These are absolutes. But some of the things in the particulars of the meanings of verses, we may not have an absolute understanding of them, but we may have an absolute sense that there is a meaning. That's absolute. So we don't denude the verse of meaning. We don't say it's meaningless, but we can say that the meaning itself may not be easily accessible to everybody, but certainly Allah knows the meaning. So let's go to these are short sections, so I'm going to try to get through most of them so that we can actually finish by next time, I think, this Aqidah section. فصل في سمع الكلام. So this is talking about listening, I think is what I called it in the handout. So we did the similarity, the recitation, signs. Also, I think I actually I skipped it there. So Sama' Kalam is not translated because the section after that is fil ayat, which is the signs. So there should be between recitation and signs a section that says Sama' Kalam, or the listening. So we'll correct that, inshallah. But for your own purposes, you can correct that if you have access to it. قال الله سبحانه فأجره حتى يسمع كلام الله. معنى ذلك كمثل معبر يعبر لرجل عن كلام غيره فيفهم المعبر له من كلام المعبر ما يستدل به على فهم كلام المعبر عنه. فافهم وبالله التوفيق. Sounds complicated, but usually simple things when you try to explain them sound complicated. So the verse قال الله سبحانه فأجره حتى يسمع كلام Allah. So this is the beginning of Surah At-Tawbah. Talking in the context behind it is the mushrikeen who would be seeking asylum, basically, is the word. Al-amn. So if they seek asylum, فأجره حتى يسمع كلام Allah. So it's a command to the Prophet ﷺ, so give him asylum. حتى, so that he may also يسمع كلام Allah, that he may hear the speech, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, the Quran. So here, this is, as we said earlier, when we talked about kalam, or the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doesn't mean that literally the attribute of speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being heard by Sama', by the one listening, but ما يعبر عنه, as what he said, that which indicates it. So, and that which indicates it is the Quran, as we said. And that's why he mentioned this. فَأَجِرُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعْ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ. Right, كلام Allah, يعني, not like Musa alayhi salam, Moses, when he went to the burning bush, وَكَلَمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. Allah spoke to Moses. So again, he also heard the kalam of Allah. He heard the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner commensurate with Allah's majesty. So how that translated from the Qadim to the Hadith, or how that went from the one who is pre-eternal and beginningless and eternal and everlasting, and then heard by or understood by Al-Hadith, namely Musa alayhi salam, هذا من أسرار, سر من أسرار الله. This is from among the secrets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we know for certain it was not by sound. Right, so not like in the movie, in Charlton Heston heard the big noise in the sky, and then God spoke to him that way. Not like that, because that it's something that we can conjure up, that we can imagine, and anything that we can imagine is not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So sami'a kalam Allah, right? Literally he did, but in a manner that Allah knows. And here we say in the verses of the Quran, هي تعبر عن كلام الله, right? They indicate the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's do one more section after this. فصل في الآيات, or the signs in the hearts. قال الله سبحانه بل هو آيات بينات في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم, from Surah Al-Ankabut, ayah 49. معناه أن العقول فهمت من كلام الله الوعد والوعيد والمواعظ والأمثال وغير ذلك من المعاني، فصار الفهم دلالة على المفهوم بلا أن يحل المفهوم في كنز الصدور. المفهوم هو الكلام القائم بالملك الغفور. So the verse بل هو آيات, rather they are emphatically آيات بينات, clear signs في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم, in the hearts of those who have been given knowledge, sacred knowledge. معناه, the meaning, أن العقول فهمت, right? Their uqul, their minds, their intellects understood from the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-wa'd wal-wa'id wal-mawa'id wal-amthal. So all of the different colors and textures of the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which include the promise of paradise and the threat of hellfire, and al-mawa'id and admonitions, wal-amthal and the parables, they imbibed all of that in their hearts, right? من المعاني فصار الفهم دلالة على المفهوم. Right? So their understanding then in of itself became an indicator of that which they understood. بلا أن يحل المفهوم في كنز الصدور. But without the actual ayat, the speech of Allah, taking up space, right? في الصدور, in the hearts of people, or in the chests of people. But the meanings themselves have been imbibed and understood, such that now they inform the kayan, the entity and the essence of the human being in a much different way. That's why this verse is also very important when we talk about oral transmission, AURAL, right? And spiritual cognition, and تذوق المعاني. This is talking about أناس تذوقت المعاني. These are people who tasted the meanings, right? Their spiritual cognition was able to grasp the meanings, and such that it was implanted in their hearts, right? In a spiritual way, not in a literal way. بل هو آيات بينات, right? They're clear signs in their hearts. في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم, for the ones who have been given this knowledge, right? In the verse Surah Al Imran, شهد الله والملائكة وأولي العلم قائما بالقسط شهد أنه لا إله, right? That Allah bears witness, and the malaika, and الذين أوتوا العلم, the ones who have been given knowledge, أنه لا إله, that Allah is, there's none, no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as Imam al-Sha'rani said in one of his books, it didn't say utul iman, it said utul ilm, right? The ones who have been given knowledge, who have been given dhawqi knowledge, who have been given a more immediate, necessary knowledge of God, not those who just merely believe in the existence of Allah. Because the ta'bir here is shahida, they witnessed it, right? Not just acknowledged it, but they witnessed it. Wallahu a'lam. والمفهوم هو الكلام القائم بالملك الغفور, right? And that which is understood is those words, that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to us, al-Malik, al-Ghafur, the sovereign, and the Ghafur, and the most and oft forgiving. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. So we'll stop here, inshallah, and I believe in the next session, and the last one for this week, we will finish this section, and then go on to next week, في التهذيب والرياضة, which is spiritual refinement and discipline, بإذن الله تعالى. So